a highly respected chart analyst in the cryptocurrency space, suggests that we are entering the final phase of the bull market upon examining key indicators such as the Bitcoin and XRP price charts, as well as various relevant metrics. The evidence strongly supports the conclusion that we are nearing the end of this market cycle. While it is impossible to predict with certainty when the final parabolic rally will occur, historical trends indicate that such a rally is likely to take place, and potentially in the near future. I will share insights from 9 different XRP chart analysts, all of whom share a similar perspective. The key question is whether prices need to dip further to complete a final liquidity sweep. Could we see another significant sell-off, or might a macroeconomic event create short-term uncertainty and negative price movements? While such scenarios are always possible, the consensus among these analysts points to a tightening trading range for XRP throughout this year. The evidence presented in this video highlights a consistent acknowledgement of this trend across multiple expert analyses. XRP appears to be approaching a pivotal moment, as is often the case when nearing the end of a symmetrical triangle pattern. It is highly likely that a breakout is imminent, and we could wake up any day to see it materialize. This event may signify the final surge of the current market cycle before transitioning into a bear market, which is a natural part of the cycle. While bear markets present their own opportunities, the most dynamic and exciting phase still lies ahead. That said, I must emphasize that I do not possess a financial background and am not providing financial advice. Please avoid making any investment decisions based on my statements or writings. Always consult a qualified financial professional for guidance. As of today, Wednesday, June 18th, 2025, the price of XRP stands at $2.16, while Bitcoin is trading at just over 105K. Reviewing the 7-day chart for XRP, it is evident that on Monday, just 2 days ago, we experienced a significant upward movement in price. However, this surge was short-lived as the price quickly retraced. A similar pattern can be observed in Bitcoin's 7-day chart. Later in this analysis, I will highlight the perspective of an XRP chart analyst who accurately predicted this movement, as it is important to acknowledge expertise when due. Ultimately, these fluctuations are a part of routine market behavior. While we remain within a trading range for now, there is strong potential for a breakout in the near future. Chart analyst Crypto Michael recently shared his insights, highlighting how market participants often overreact to minor 2% price movements. He emphasized that when Bitcoin eventually surpasses the 8-year resistance line at 112K, it could lead to sustained daily gains of 20% or more over several weeks. According to Michael, the current market activity is simply a consolidation phase within a broader range. Despite ongoing geopolitical tensions and fear, uncertainty, and doubt surrounding events such as the conflicts involving Israel and Iran, Bitcoin has maintained its range. Michael believes these external factors, while they may cause temporary market reactions, do not significantly impact the long-term trajectory of the charts. Instead, they often present unique opportunities for investors. The renowned crypto analyst Willy Woo, with a massive following of 1.2 million on X, has issued a heads up that we're approaching the final stretch of this market cycle, and honestly, it feels like we are. In his post, he shared some insights for the macro cycle investors out there. Their risk model, which tracks Bitcoin liquidity drops, suggests we've entered the late phase of this bull market. There's still some upside left, but the signs are clear. A Bitcoin bear market could kick in when global macro markets shift. But here's the thing. That's not bad news. It's just part of the game. If you're riding the wave with XRP or any other crypto, this could be your moment, the opportunity for a true life-changing move. Once the bear market rolls around and everything's on sale again, it'll be time to reload, regroup, and wait for the next inevitable bull run a few years down the road. Chart analyst Tech Dev knows we're nearing the finish line. He shared a post with his 531,000 followers on X, simply saying, "It's that time the market waits for every 4 years. This one took 5. Bitcoin's cyclical nature is often tied to a 4-year rhythm, but it's never an exact science. For a while now, he's argued, alongside others, that these cycles are stretching. It seems the countdown to the final blast-off phase is taking a little longer this time, but the anticipation is building. Maybe the analysts are right. Time will tell when this finally takes off. But here's the real takeaway. We're in that pivotal moment right now, the calm before the storm, the build-up to what could be an explosive blast-off. And it is coming. If history repeats itself, this could mark the final chapter of this bull market. Take a look. Bitcoin's price is up top, paired with a liquidity-weighted business cycle. Every time we've hit this zone and started to reverse, it's been the spark that ignites Bitcoin's final rally to the upside. And after that, alt season frenzy. There's no reason to think this time will be any different. Here's an interesting post from chart analyst Mustache. He pointed out how the total market cap seems to replicate the structure of previous cycles in a similar way. Pretty fascinating, right? On a macro level, there's really no reason not to feel bullish, and I totally agree with that. What's also worth noting is how this cycle seems to be taking a bit longer to reach the point where we see the final blast off. That's not exactly what Mustache was focusing on, but if you compare this cycle to the last one, you can see it's stretched out a little more. Whether things speed up and wrap up around the same time as before, well, we'll have to wait and see. I get why people bring up these arguments. It totally makes sense, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really change much. Even if things take a little longer for some reason, like global liquidity zones or something similar, that's totally fine. Honestly, even if that's the case, we're still heading toward the final blow off top. There's no reason to think otherwise. People always get super excited and a bit greedy during these times. They'll take profits from Bitcoin and start rotating those gains into other coins, hoping to see them skyrocket. It's just how it works. You'll see massive volumes for various coins as a result. There's no reason to believe people are going to suddenly stop behaving this way. It's human nature. So once again, we'll see profits from Bitcoin rolling into just about everything else, including XRP. It's pretty amazing that XRP hit its all-time high of $3.40 this year, even without everything fully aligning yet. Bitcoin dominance is still pretty strong, but XRP managed to take off on its own. Just imagine what'll happen when the money starts to rotate. Things are going to get really exciting. Check out this post from chart analyst XRPunky. He's sharing some insights on XRP's weekly chart, pointing out that we're at the apex of a massive triangle and something's got to happen soon. According to him, the breakout could be epic. He's super confident about the potential for double-digit XRP, saying if you're still doubting it, you might want to rethink. I love the optimism. Personally, I don't make price predictions or claim to know exactly what's coming, but the idea of XRP hitting double digits this cycle, definitely not a crazy thought. Almost every analyst I follow agrees. It's pretty much a sure thing, or at least very close to it. This isn't even a controversial topic among chart analysts. Everyone just seems to be on the same page. Yep, that's almost definitely going to happen. Now, one of the key points I really want to highlight here is the symmetrical triangle pattern. Let me show you some examples, but here's the gist. Analysts are noticing we're trading in a tightening range ever since we hit the all-time high earlier this year. It's been nearly 6 months now, and this setup looks ready to break out before it hits the apex. That's what most people are expecting anyway. That's usually how it goes, right? The big question is whether we'll see a breakout to the upside or the downside. Given that we're in a bull market, I am betting on the upside. Sure, we might see some short-term dips, maybe even lower price action for a bit. For example, some analysts are still predicting XRP could dip to around $1.90 or $2 in the short term. But honestly, that wouldn't invalidate the bigger picture here. I just saw an interesting headline from the Crypto Basic about their wealth group founder expecting XRP Maxis to win big. And here's where it gets fun, because honestly, I've got a bit of a bone to pick with the term XRP Maxis. I mean, do they actually exist? Is there even such a thing as an XRP maximalist? Maybe one person out there, right? On the other hand, Bitcoin maximalists seem to be everywhere. It's almost like a cult for some of them. But in the XRP community, we're a lot more level-headed. We don't see XRP as some kind of religion. We see it as an investment opportunity. We're not married to it. We just believe it makes sense. XRP has some of the strongest fundamentals in the entire crypto space. It's functionally useful, and that's hard to ignore. But honestly, you don't run into XRP maximalists in real life. It's just not a thing. So yeah, I'd have to disagree with the idea that there are tons of XRP maximalists out there. So here's the thing. There really aren't any guarantees. Anyway, they're talking about someone I'm not too familiar with, but that's okay. His name is John, and he founded a firm called Wealth Group. Seems like a pretty popular guy. He's got over 800,000 followers on X. Actually, I think it's closer to 835,000. Now, John was suggesting that a Ripple IPO could potentially spark some big price action for XRP. Honestly, I'm not really sold on that idea. Sure, it's an interesting thought, but I'm just not convinced. What do you think? If you're in a hot market, it feels like any news can spark a reaction, right? Suddenly people jump on it and XRP starts running. Personally, I am not totally sold on that idea, but what I do find super interesting and definitely worth paying attention to is all this buzz about the XRP symmetrical triangle. Another analyst has been pointing this out too. Check this out. They shared a chart showing that XRP has been trading within this symmetrical triangle ever since its big drop from the $3.40 high back in January 2025. For the past 5 months, it's mostly stayed around the $2 mark, moving within that triangle. The chart also shows something pretty exciting. Back in March, XRP had a breakout attempt after Donald Trump announced plans to include XRP as part of the US government's crypto stockpile. For a moment, XRP shot up to $3, but it quickly settled back into its usual range. XRP is getting close to the tip of the triangle, and many analysts, including John, are predicting that a breakout could be just around the corner, which is projections suggest it could initially push past the $3. I can't stress this enough. This is a really exciting moment. There's growing agreement among analysts that we're at a critical point. XRP looks ready to take off. We're right at the end of the symmetrical triangle. And it could happen anytime now, whether it's today, tomorrow, next week, or next month. We're in that thrilling period where everything is lining up. It really feels like something big is about to happen. Check out this update from chart analyst Zoom. He's pointed out something interesting. XRP's Bollinger Bands are tightening again. And if you've been following along, you know what usually happens next. Now, tightening Bollinger Bands alone don't tell us whether the price will break up or down. But just like I said, back in November leading up to the election, when XRP made its move, I called it. We're in a bull market, and my bet was on a break to the upside. Well, here we are again, and I'm making the same call. Let's see how this plays out. When this finally breaks, I'm betting it's going to the upside. It just doesn't seem logical that it would break down and that's it. Let me show you why. First off, the Bollinger Bands are tightening. Yep, classic sign. And then check this out, an asymmetrical triangle forming. We're getting closer and closer to the apex. And that's why analysts are saying there's a strong chance XRP could pop, maybe even this month or in July. Now, of course, no one can predict exact timing with 100% accuracy. I totally get that. But just look at the structure here. It's building up and it can't stay like this forever. Something's got to give. Here's an update from chart analyst Step Highs Crypto. XRP Bollinger Bands are getting super tight, which usually signals a big move is on the way. He's highlighting the same point we've been noticing, though they're not quite as tight as they were back in November. But honestly, they don't need to be. This setup looks strong enough to send XRP's price soaring. If we're right, and I definitely expect this to move up rather than down, this could be an even bigger move in dollar terms than what we saw last November. That kind of big move would actually line up with historical trends. So that big burst, crypto is making an interesting point. And honestly, I think he's one of the best in the game right now. He's been spot on about XRP so far. He explained that historically, after the first burst, there's a bit of a cool off. Makes sense, right? But the exciting part is what comes next, the next major impulse. That's the one that really delivers in terms of dollar action. It's great to see so many analysts noticing the same trend. Here's a cool post from the blockchain backer that caught my attention. He's comparing the chart structure of a coin called Verge, ticker XVG, to where XRP is right now. It's a pretty interesting comparison. In the post, he shared a chart of Verge against BTC from 2017. If you take a look, you'll see Verge was just moving sideways for about 12 months leading up to a massive breakout. That, of course, happened during the legendary alt season of 2017. Now, here's what the blockchain backer had to say recently. He mentioned something interesting about charting, how certain setups and patterns stick with you over the years. For him, it's XVG/BTC in 2017. He described it as a clean cycle, crash, retrace, reaccumulate, breakout. Pretty memorable, right? Especially since it had such a unique ending. Now, here's where it gets really intriguing. He's comparing that to XRP/BTC right now. There's this dotted trend line he pointed out on the chart. And if you look at XRP/BTC, there's the same dotted line brushing up against it. Coincidence, maybe, but it feels like he's dropping a big hint about what could be coming next. Similar setup, similar potential, definitely something worth keeping an eye on. You know, this all totally lines up with what just about every analyst out there is saying. XRP could take off at any moment. Same with Bitcoin and the whole crypto market, really. It's all connected and tends to move together. Check out this post from chart analyst Mikey Bull Crypto. He's on the same page. He points out how XRP in 2017 had its first big impulse, then moved sideways for about 6 months before it skyrocketed. Now he's comparing that to where we are today with XRP. According to his chart, we saw our first major impulse in November, and things are looking pretty similar to that 2017 setup. Every analyst out there has picked up on this, and honestly, it's true. That's just how it is. And it's exactly why this is so exciting. As he puts it, XRP, I've seen this movie before. It's giving serious 2017 rally vibes. This isn't just a one-off opinion either. It's something a lot of well-regarded chart analysts are talking about. And you know what? It makes sense. Even Dark Defender is on the same page. Are you noticing the pattern here? Check out this post from Dark Defender featuring the XRP/USD chart. He's calling this XRP melting faces phase 2, and here's why. Take a look at 2017. See that sideways price action that lasted about 6 months? That's exactly where we are right now, folks. We've had our first big breakout and are now moving sideways. According to Dark Defender, the next move could take XRP all the way up to $18.22. He's been eyeing that target for a while, and if history repeats itself, we're in for an exciting ride just like 2017. Let's see how it plays out. This could be fun to watch. Check out this update from chart analyst Javon Marks. XRP is holding a solid breakout and could be gearing up for some major bullish moves. His short-term targets are $4, 80 cents, and $8. But he's clear, he doesn't think that's where it'll peak this cycle. Javon believes XRP has the potential to go much higher long term. He and many others think we're in a moment where it makes total sense for XRP to start gaining momentum again. And historically speaking, the pattern fits. In the last 2 market cycles, XRP had its first big move, then went sideways for about 6 months before taking off again. Crypto Insight UK shared an interesting clip from one of his videos, and it's worth talking about. He mentioned that no one on his timeline should be surprised by the recent XRP and ETH price action, and it turns out he was spot on. Earlier this week, on Monday, XRP started moving up with the rest of the market. Just as he predicted, Bitcoin followed a similar pattern. As I mentioned earlier, after that initial rise, prices dipped back to their previous levels, but here's the cool part. He called it before it happened. In his video, he pointed out that liquidity above the market would likely pull XRP's price up before dropping back down. Looking ahead, he thinks we might see XRP push down to sweep the liquidity lows somewhere around $1.90 to $2. He still believes that's going to happen, just to be clear. And honestly, credit where it's due, because what happened on Monday, he totally called it. He said it was the most likely scenario, and sure enough, it happened. Now, he's also warning there's a decent chance, though not guaranteed, that we could see XRP dip closer to $2 for one last sweep of the lows before it heads back up. But here's the thing, whether that happens or not, and it doesn't absolutely have to, he's honest about that too. We're in that moment right now. This thing could move at any second, and it's exciting to watch it unfold. Just a quick reminder, I'm not a financial advisor, so don't make any buying or selling decisions based on what I say here. Seriously, that would not be a great idea. But hey, let's see where this wild ride goes.